My oldest brother went to the University of Florida. My oldest sister went to Auburn. Two other brothers and one of my sisters went to Florida State. And I just fell in love with Florida State. I was a huge Florida State fan before I was ever a student. One of the people that I got to know at Florida State, Brian Philpott, his uncle was running for the state senate. And so Brian called me up and said, look, what would you think about running my uncle's campaign? So we did it. I ran his Senate campaign and he won. And he said, well, come be my chief of staff. And so I did that for 2 years. And then one of the guys that I got to know in the legislature was Ash Williams. And we went to lunch and I said, watched your career. I saw how you passed from the legislative process over to the pension fund. I said, I'm ready to go into finance, but my wife's in law school here. I can't leave Tallahassee. So there's only a couple places. And he stopped me mid-sentence. He said, you got to come work for me. So I went to work at the pension fund. About a year later, Ash left. And the dean of the business school, Mel Stith, called me up and said, hey, have you ever heard of Jim Dahl? He's looking for somebody. He called me and asked me for a name of an FSU person. He said, I gave him your name. And he hired me. And I spent about 4 years at Rock Creek Capital with Jim. And it was a great learning experience. I had a job. We had a lot of investments. I could have just ridden it out. But I started to do some research on the real estate side. People are moving out of the suburbs back into the urban areas. As these people move back in, they need retail. And so I put this thesis together and I approached my partners and I said, hey, this is what we should do. And they're like, no, we're not gonna do that. And so that's when I said, all right, well, I wanna go do this. Let's separate. I'm gonna go start this company. I was probably 32, 33 at the time. And I didn't know that you couldn't go out and just raise a fund. So I'm thinking, well, how am I gonna tell my wife this story? So I sit down and I start telling her the story about, hey, I'm really unhappy and I really think it's time to do, my own company. And I'm in this pitch and she starts crying. That's when I found out she was pregnant with our fourth. And I could have stopped right there and I could have said, okay, well, I've got to stay at my job. But I said, no, this is a good idea. This is really what I want to do. And we did it. You never know what kind of wife you're marrying and you never know what kind of mother you're marrying. She's the best. She really is the best. We invest all over the Southeast, from Texas to the Atlantic, north to Virginia and Tennessee, and today we have about 500,000 square feet down in Puerto Rico as well. And about 80% of what we do is grocery-anchored retail. We bring grocery stores to food deserts, if you will. Nobody should have to pay $10 for a gallon of milk just because they live in a bad neighborhood. FSU has given me so much that I have just tried to give back. Somebody was there for me at multiple times, Ash Williams, Mel Stith, and I think I have a duty to pass that on. Jen and I are blessed with 4 incredible children. One's out of college, Carson, she's working in Chicago. She's in finance. My son's a senior at Florida State, and we have 2 girls, a sophomore and a junior at Wake Forest. I love spending time with the kids. I love watching them achieve. You have to let them know that they can fail and it's not going to affect our relationship. I'm gonna be mad, but it doesn't mean I didn't love them any less. In fact, it proved that I loved them. If you didn't love them, you wouldn't get so upset. I care and my kids know that I care. My desire in fundraising for the university is simple. In the short term, in the next 2 or 3 years, we need to double how much we're raising a year. We're raising about $100 million a year in the foundation. We need to raise $200 million a year. So we need to raise a new capital campaign. It's got to be at least $2 billion, in my opinion. If we fix those 2 areas, we can be top 10.